Wow. Well, you are somebody I have followed in this space for a very long time. Your introduction was very, very much abbreviated. I've known about all the stuff you've been involved with, obviously, with your podcast, with the SMHP. I believe I said that right. Like, you've got so much going on, but even just deep diving further into your content to do this interview today, it's just absolutely astounding everything that you've been able to do. Like, I heard about this kind of stuff in my career as a trainer, as a nutrition coach. I got really fired up about it. I started this podcast, and I look at what you've done, and I just realize, like, wow, I'm vastly underperforming what can be done in this space. You are doing such amazing work and getting this word out to so many people. You should be very proud of the work you've done.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I am, but then again, I have similar responses as you do sometimes when I look at people like Brian Lenskes, Dr. Brian Lenskes. I mean, he came in to an event in 2017, I think it was, and he had been secretly doing keto himself because he had been getting fat and sick like his patients on the advice that he was giving his patients. And he had heard about this, and he did it on the down low, started seeing some big improvements, but still wouldn't talk to anybody about it or tell anybody about it, and especially not his patients. And then he came to our event, and it was like, whoa, this is like legit, and there's all these scientists and other doctors in there talking about it. He had no idea. And he just got like so committed to try to do something about it as well, which so many of us do. It's like, that's why I'm doing this now. I was just amazed that I had all these benefits and improvements in my health that I didn't even know about. And what can I do to help other people like me know about it? And he was like that. And he did a 6-week thing in his church, like once a week. In fact, he did it twice. It was Sunday morning. And then for the people that didn't want to miss church, then he repeated it again on Monday night. And he had 200 people at each session for 6 weeks, and they all came back each week. And on the last day, I just sat at the back. I often tell people, like, I was like a proud father, like sitting at the back watching what he was doing. And on the last day, we had a bit of a few of us like sitting on the stage and just having general questions and stuff that we answered. And then sort of we kind of ended that and said, okay, well, we need to give up this hall now. And the people all came down off the stairs down to the stage, and I was just sitting on the edge of the stage, and people all gathered around. And I can't tell you how many people had just started doing it after the first week with that Brian had done this thing. And now they come 6 weeks later, they've lost a bunch of weight, and their A1Cs come down, and or their blood sugar at least come down. A1C maybe not in 6 weeks so much, but even more than that was people coming, like somebody, and saying, thank you so much for making my husband a better person. Just the difference in their character, almost not a character, but they're no longer were they like irritable and grouchy and all those things that change that you don't even think about when you're trying to reverse your type 2 diabetes or something. There's so many other benefits that you don't even dream about. And that was the first time that I realized how because we didn't hear it so often from our attendees, but like when I saw this in this group of 200 people, how much of an influence Brian had on all of these people made me realize what maybe was going on, with those people that attended our events. And then Brian he tracked down Jason Fung and Tro Kalasian, and they started Low Carb MD podcast. I mean, they had 1 million downloads in their first year, and it's like 11 million or something now. It's just insane. And I often have the same reaction as you. It's like feeling, okay, well, I thought I was doing quite well until you hear about these stories, yeah. So anyway,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I grew up religious, and so I don't really do the church thing that well anymore. But that's a church I would belong to. I would get baptized into that church for sure. I'll be in Brian's Right.
Yeah, Granite Hills or
Church
something,
group.
I think it's called.
Amazing. That's
Mhm.
great. Yeah, and it's so apparent too. You travel to these conferences and people are just so nice and friendly. And like,
Mhm.
I go out to lunch one day with Olivia Quadja and Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Rod Taylor, all of them previous guests on this podcast. And they're just nice. They're just kind, fun
Amazing people. Yeah.
people. They're just great
Mhm.
people. And it's like universal. You don't see many people that aren't willing to stop and chat or don't have amazing stories like you're saying. And so, yeah, it's very cool. And we just appreciate all of you, everybody who's pushing this message forward. It's really great.
Yeah.
So let's go back and tell your story. You have a very interesting story with all of this. I believe you had your logo flipped the opposite direction. You have the food
I did,
pyramid
yeah.
that
Can you,
is
I don't know if
all
you guys have video, but yeah, it's, I don't know. It was just, I was so amazed at what a difference it made for me. At that stage, I was maybe 35 pounds over what I should have been weighing at the time. And that was the main thing. I mean, my knees were getting really sore. I was a runner, and I thought I was just putting on this weight every year because I was lazy and I wasn't running anymore. But it wasn't that I was lazy. I was just struggling, with injuries and my sore knees and everything. That I was hating life. And someone sent me a thing about ketones being an alternative fuel source to glucose. And I had no idea. I'd never even heard of a ketone. This was back in 2015, around July. And I started doing a bunch of research, and I was like, this explains like all the issues that I'm having now. And it even explained the issues of when I was like in my 30s and I was running these 50-mile races, where I would get really, really fit. And on the day of the race, I would follow Tim Noakes's carbo loading regimen for 3 days beforehand. And on the day of the race, I would be standing on the corner thinking, man, I can't even run to the corner down there. It's like, it's ridiculous. And so I decided to do this. And, I took Pam shopping, which horrified her. And then I had a list, which she was even more horrified at. But yeah, we went around, as most people doing this have learned. You basically go around the outside of the store because pretty much all the stuff down the aisles is all carb crap, and bought some ribeye steaks and full cream yogurt and heavy cream, and which you really struggle to find in a little corner in this huge fridge full of yogurt in that's packed with sugar and everything, which is anyway, it started from there, and over 5 months we struggled a lot because back in those days there wasn't really a whole lot of stuff online about it. So you kind of had to learn by trial and error. And 5 months later, I was down to my weight of 160 pounds again. And my knees had cleared up. I was running and enjoying it again. And I just said to Pam, like, how is it possible that we didn't know about this? We need to. And I knew there was a couple of little conferences, but there was like 100 people that maybe go there. And I said to her, like, we need to put 1,000 people in the room. And, San Diego is a good destination in summer. Like, maybe people will come. And we literally built it in 6 months, like from having no website, no social media presence, nothing. The organization didn't even exist until February of 2016. And we put the event on in July, and I didn't get 1,000 people in the room. I got 350. But I was really disappointed, and people had to point out to me that in that environment, in that space at the time, 350 was 3 times what any other conference had done, similar ones. And so, be proud of that. And I think what made me become aware of how important it was how many people were coming to me and saying, when's next year? And other people that were coming to me and saying, you need to do one on the East Coast. And And you know, one of our volunteer helpers, they were just friends of ours. They weren't even keto at the time, and they walked into town that the evening we were having our early registration, and they went to go and get something to eat, and they came back and said, "You can't believe it. It's like there's people running around in the streets, jumping up and down. They're so excited." They heard them talking about it, like just nattering about how excited they are that this conference is on, and they're going to get the opportunity to see a lot of these people that were the speakers were like YouTube famous, you know, type people. So they'd seen them on YouTube, and now suddenly they were going to get to see them in person, and they couldn't stop talking about it. And in fact, I think that excitement was what got these friends of ours kind of interested in even taking a look at this idea and eventually get on board with it, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, so we put the first one on. We got convinced that we had to do one in Florida, so we started planning it and put one on in Florida in January, and sold a bunch of tickets to the attendees that were there, like half price, to come back the next year. And I said, like, I don't even know who the speakers are going to be, but it'll be something like this, you know. But you can buy your tickets half price if you sign up now in the next week. And that helped me pay for the event. I mean, we were in such financial difficulty after the first one that we didn't know how we were going to get out of the hotel. And people have very little idea of how much it actually costs to put stuff on like that. And
can't imagine.
This helped us, you know, because we were planning on 1,000 people. I thought we'd put it on and 1,000 people will come, right? But it didn't work. It didn't work out like that. So yeah, we were really struggling, and we learned a lot of lessons there. So we went to a hotel the next time that is the same one that we're still in now, but where they didn't rape us, basically, you know, that they understood that we were pretty much a non-profit organization, and that they needed to work with us, and they found ways to save money and not charge as much. And I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars less that we ended up paying at the next conference.
Yeah.
That, you know, and slowly over the years we've been trying to climb out of that hole, you know. But
that's amazing.